Greetings, children. Welcome to my channel, Inside Accountancy by Shakun. Accounting made easy for you all. I hope you all have subscribed to my channel already. If not, please do so. Hit the bell button and don't forget to like the video in case it helped you or leave a comment. It really boosts my morale. Today, we'll be talking about the financial statements of a company. That's the first chapter of part B. So let's start. In this particular video, we'll be talking about the meaning of financial statements, just a brief one, financial statements of a company, what they include, and the balance sheet format. So financial statements, as you all know, they provide a summary about the financial position as well as the financial performance of a business by the preparation of balance sheet as well as the statement of P&L. It tells us about the assets, liabilities, and capital as well as the results of our operations. For more details, please click on the I button as I have discussed this, the need, the limitations in detail in my previous videos. So we have been discussing the format of balance sheet in the previous video. We discussed the format of balance sheet. The equity and liability part of the balance sheet has been discussed in detail in the previous video. Equity and liability part of the balance sheet has four major headings, that is the shareholders funds, the share application money pending allotment, the non-current liabilities and current liabilities, having further subheadings. All these headings have been discussed in detail in the previous video. As you are aware that the balance sheet of the company is prepared not horizontally but vertically, where under one particulars only you have equity and liabilities also and the assets. So the total of the liability will always be equal to the total of assets, as we know, but it is shown under one particulars column. So we have discussed about the equity and liabilities. Now let's talk about the assets. Assets, as you all know, are valuable things. Anything of value, any property that the business owns is known as assets, which increases the earning capacity of a business. Assets are divided into two major headings. In equity and liability, we had four major headings. In asset side, we have two major headings. First is the non-current assets and the second is current assets. There are further subheadings which are there in the current assets as well as non-current assets, which we will be discussing in detail. So moving on. So in this particular section of the video, we'll be talking about the assets, which namely are the non-current assets as well as the current assets. So first let's talk about the non-current assets. Now, the non-current assets, they are first of all, let's understand what non-current assets are. So non-current assets are those assets that have been acquired for a long period of time. Those assets, the investment which is made in fixed assets or other investments for a long period of time, let's say more than 12 months, and which are not acquired for the purpose of converting them into cash. These fixed assets, they increase the earning capacity of the business concern and they help us in increasing our revenue. The non-current assets are further classified into five major headings. These are fixed assets, non-current investments, deferred tax assets, long-term loans and advances, and other current non-current assets. These are the five major subheads or five major subheadings which are there in case of non-current assets. We will be talking about all these in detail. So let's first talk about fixed assets. Now, fixed assets are those assets which are held by a company not for the purpose of sale but for the purpose to increase the earnings of the business. This we all know that they are not held for the purpose of sale, not for resale, and they increase the earning capacity of the business concern. So these fixed assets, they can be categorized into tangible assets, intangible assets, capital work in progress, and intangible assets under development. Now, what are tangible assets? Tangible, anything that is tangible, it means anything having a physical existence. Something which can be seen, something which can be touched is known as a tangible asset. For example, all the assets that might come to your mind, such as land and building, or machinery, or vehicle, or furniture, etc. All these are tangible assets which have a physical existence. Intangible assets are those assets which do not have a physical existence. They do not have a physical existence and they cannot be seen or touched. For example, we may say goodwill is an intangible asset, or computer softwares, they are also intangible. Any patents, intellectual property rights, any recipe, formula, designs, licenses, all these are intangible assets as they do not have a physical existence. Capital work in progress. Now, capital work in progress, whenever it means whenever our fixed assets, they are under the process of development, they are under the process of being made, they are under construction. Whenever the fixed assets are under construction, we call it capital work in progress. For example, if I suppose the business is constructing a building on a particular land, and let's say 10 lakh rupees has been spent on the construction of building, although the total cost of the building would be, let's say, 50 lakh, but 10 lakh has already been spent on the construction of building. So building being a fixed asset is under construction, and the 10 lakh which we have spent on building is not just a random revenue expenditure, that is a capital expenditure. So that is why we put it in the category of capital work in progress, because our asset has not formed yet, it is still under process. So capital work in progress whenever the fixed assets are under construction. Similarly, whenever the intangible assets are under development, such as patents, intellectual property rights, etc., when they are in the process of development. So all intangible assets which are under the process of development, they are not put under intangible assets, but they are put under intangible assets under development. So all the fixed assets, whether they have physical existence or do not have physical existence, whether they are under construction or development, all these fixed assets, they form a part of non-current assets, the non-current assets heading of the asset side of the balance sheet. I would like to repeat here that the asset side of the balance sheet has two major headings. One is non-current assets and the second is current assets. Non-current assets includes the fixed assets. So fixed asset is the first heading that we have under non-current assets. Moving on, let's move to the second heading under the non-current assets. The second heading under non-current assets is non-current investments. Now, non-current investments, what are they? Those investments which are held not with the purpose to resell, but to retain them. These investments, they may be made in shares or debentures, etc., but they are made not for the purpose of reselling them, but for the purpose to retain them in the business. So such investments are called as non-current investments. These non-current investments, they may be classified as trade investments and other investments. Trade investments are those investments which are held for the purpose of trading, and other investments, all other investments other than trade investments, they fall in this category, which are not trade investments rather. So other investments are basically the non-trade investments. Okay, so the investments, they have certain other headings. Okay, so the investments, they may be investments in any kind of property or in equity instruments, that is the equity shares of other companies, or investment in preference shares of some other company, investment in any kind of government or trust securities, or in debentures or bonds, or in mutual funds, or in any kind of partnership firm, or any other kind of non-current investment whose nature is specified, which is held for a which is retained or which is held for a long period of time, that is more than 12 months. The main difference between current and non-current is that the accounting period is taken into consideration, or the operating cycle. So if it is more than 12 months, then it is non-current. If it is relating to a period less than 12 months, then it will be current. So current assets can be converted into cash within 12 months, and non-current assets, they are not converted into cash. They are held for a long period of time, more than 12 months, right? So these are the various non-current investments. Moving on, we move on to the third uh, heading that comes under non-current assets. The third heading is deferred tax assets. Now we had already talked about deferred tax liability when we were talking about equity and liability part. So as I explained that time, that every year the accounting income is compared with the taxable income. If in case the accounting income is more than the taxable income, it leads to deferred tax liability, because we have to pay more tax. That tax is calculated and it is deferred, and it is a liability to be paid to the government. But in case the accounting income is lesser than the taxable income, in that case we have paid more tax and that has to be refunded back to us. So this is a case of deferred tax asset. We are going to get a refund of this part which we have paid in excess. Okay, so moving on, the fourth heading that comes under non-current assets, the D part, the fourth heading is the long-term loans and advances. Now long-term loans and advances are those loans and advances that are expected to be received back in cash or kind in the form of an asset uh, after 12 months from the date of balance sheet or after the period of operating cycle. So those loans and advances which we have given to other people and which we expect to receive, whether in cash or in kind or in form of any asset, whether we, it can be anything, but when we expect to receive such loans and advances back to us after a period of 12 months or after the operating period of operating cycle, then these loans and advances are termed as long term. Okay, the only difference between, see, loans and advances will be short term also. So depending upon the months, depending upon when you expect to receive them back, it will be termed as long term or short term. So since we are here, when I talk about long term loans and advances, I expect them to be received after a period of 12 months. So therefore these are long term in nature. So these long term loans and advances, they may include the capital advances. Now what are capital advances? These are those advances which are given for acquiring fixed assets. Okay, so if you have given any advance for acquiring a fixed asset, that is referred to as a um, capital advance. Then next we have security deposits. Security deposits that are given for a longer period, let's say a period of more than 12 months or after the operating cycle period, they are termed as security deposits which are held for a long-term basis. For example, there may be a security deposit for electricity that you might have made, or if you have a telephone or a landline and there is a security deposit. So these security deposits are expected to be realized at a later date, more than 12 months definitely. So that is why it is termed as long term. Then there might be certain other loans and advances, the nature of which will be specified. Such loans and advances may be any loan that may be given to the employees, or any long-term advance that may be given to the supplier of the goods. So such loans and advances which are given maybe to the employees or to the suppliers, these may be termed as long-term loans and advances. And please remember, the term long-term here means that these are expected to be received either in cash or in kind by the company after a period of 12 months or after the operating cycle of the business. So moving on, we've talked about the long-term loans and advances. Now moving on, we come to the other non-current assets. Now, what are other non-current assets? All the non-current assets that do not fall into any of the category that we discussed above, whether it was fixed assets or whether it was non-current investments or whether it was deferred tax asset or long-term loans and advances. If it does not fall into any of these four categories, then it will find a place in the other non-current assets. So other non-current assets, they involve the long-term trade receivables and others. Now trade receivables you all know, they comprise of sundry debtors as well as bills receivable. But please note, these sundry debtors and bills receivable are those which are receivable after a period of 12 months or after the operating cycle, right? And in case of others, we have unamortized expenses or losses and insurance claim receivable. Okay, so any kind of insurance claim that we want to receive from the insurance company that is receivable will be a part of other non-current asset. And unamortized expenses or losses. Now what are unamortized expenses or losses? Now this means that there are some expenses or losses which are written off. They are written off in the accounting period. The amount that is written off is referred to as amortized. and the amount that is not written off is referred to as unamortized. Okay, so unamortized expenses or losses means that those expenses and losses which have not been written off, which have not been written off in the current accounting period, those are unamortized expenses or losses. So we have talked about the non-current assets. The non-current assets have how many? They have five major headings. The first is fixed assets, then we have non-current investments, then we have deferred tax asset, then we have long-term loans and advances, and finally we have other non-current assets, right? These were the five categories that we talked about under non-current assets. Now let's move to the current assets. Okay, so what are current assets? As you all know, current assets are those assets that can be converted into, very good, that can be converted into cash within a period of 12 months or within the operating cycle. So those assets that can be converted into cash within 12 months within the operating cycle, all those assets are referred to as the current assets. Now current assets also has certain major headings, subheadings. These are the current investments, inventories, trade receivables, cash and cash equivalents, short-term loans and advances, and other current assets. Okay, so we'll be talking about all these one by one. So let's talk about current investments. So we've already discussed the non-current investments. Now current investments on the contrary are those which can be converted into cash within a short period. Since we are talking about current investments, so we should know that it is within a period of 12 months from the date of purchase of the investment. So again, the investments, the subheadings or the things that come under current investments, they are same: investment in property, equity instruments, preference shares, government trust securities, debentures, bonds, mutual funds, partnership firms, etc. So if you notice, the basic headings, the basic items that are coming here are same as non-current investments. The only difference being that in non-current investment, it was the investment was made for a period of more than 12 months. Here it is within a period of 12 months. Means these investments which are made, they can be converted into cash within a period of 12 months. That is the main difference between current investments and non-current investments. So if in the question investment is property, in property is given, you need to check that it is made for a period, for what period has this investment been made. Okay, so moving on, the next category, the next heading, the B part under the current assets is inventories. Now, inventories, they may be, inventories as you all know is stock which is held for the purpose of trading in the ordinary course of the business. The stock that we have that we want to sell or that we are using, we are manufacturing or we are trading it is always referred to as stock or inventory, right? Now, stock or inventory involves the stock of raw materials, stock of work in progress, stores and spares, finished goods, stock in trade, and loose tools. Now, what are raw materials? The stock of raw materials, as you know, you purchase raw material, convert it into finished goods, and then sell. So, the stock of raw material comes under inventory. Work in progress, the raw material which has not yet been converted into finished goods. It's still in progress. That is stock of work in progress. Then stores and spares. The stores and spares again refer to the little bit of extra items of stock that you have in your inventory. Then finished goods, stock of completely finished goods that are ready for sale. Stock in trade. Stock in trade means the goods that you have, ready-made goods that you have purchased, which you are directly going to sell as it is. You are not going to, manufacture, do some manufacturing on that. You are not going to change it as it is. You are going to sell it further. That is stock of stock in trade. Then loose tools, etc. As little teeny mini tools that you have in the factory. All those are also a part of inventory. Now this is very important. Stores and spare and loose tools. Generally, that is many a times this is asked that it falls under which category. Okay, So moving on to the next heading under current assets, the next heading is that we have trade receivables, which is very simple. You know, trade receivables involves the debtors and the bills receivable from which the money will be received within a period of 12 months. Trade receivables was also there in case of the non-current assets. It was also a part of other non-current assets, but there those debtors and bills receivable were there which were which from which the money was receivable after a period of 12 months. But when we talk about the trade receivables that are falling under current assets, then we know that the money will be realized within a period of 12 months. Within a period of 12 months, the money will be realized. Then the next heading is cash and cash equivalents. So this is the fourth heading under current assets. So cash and cash equivalents, it involves the balance that the firm has with the bank or the cash in hand which the firm has. Okay. So cash and cash equivalents has been specified by the Companies Act. It includes the balance with bank, the cash in hand, then any kind of checks or drafts that the firm has in on hand. Then it may also involve any any balance with the bank which has been held as margin money. Then margin money means the money which is kept with the bank, the minimum amount of balance that's to be kept there. Then earmarked balances with banks, for example, the unpaid dividends. We need to pay dividends, so if we've earmarked that balance and kept it in reserve with the bank, that is also a part of cash and cash equivalents. Then we also have bank deposits. Those bank deposits having with maturity period of with more than 12 months maturity period, which we have to pay, which we have to receive within this particular accounting year. So cash and cash equivalents includes all these things. Now moving on to the next heading. The next heading under current assets is the fifth part. This is E part, that is short-term loans and advances. Now since the word short-term is there, we know that the loans and advances which are receivable, which are expected to be realized within a period of 12 months from the date of balance sheet or within the operating cycle, all these are referred to as short-term loans and advances. So loans and advances, I'm repeating, can be short-term or long-term depending upon the number of months. So if it is short-term, it will be a part of current assets. If it is long-term, it will be a part of non-current assets. Okay, so the last heading under current assets is other current assets, the F part, the last heading. Now, all the other current assets that do not fall in any of the above classifications or categories that we talked about, such as, short-term loans and advances, cash and cash equivalents, then we had the trade receivables, inventories, or current investments. If it does not find a place in any of these, then obviously it will find a place in other current assets. So other current assets, they involve the prepaid expenses, accrued income, dividend receivable, and advance taxes. These are the items that are involved in other current assets. So we have talked about all the things that come under current assets. So current assets may we have six classifications. First we had current investment, then we have inventories, then we had the trade receivables, sorry. So we had current investments, inventories, then we had trade receivables, then we had cash and cash equivalents, then we had short term loans and advances, and finally we had other current assets. These were the different headings that were there under current assets. So we have talked about the asset side of the balance sheet. Now, there are certain contingent liabilities and commitments. Now, we've talked about the balance sheet, okay? So, balance sheet, equity, liability, assets, everything is done. Now, these contingent liabilities, they are not shown in balance sheet. These are not shown in balance sheet. You did not find contingent liabilities and commitments anywhere in the face of the balance sheet. But they are always shown in the notes to accounts. So these are shown in the notes to accounts. Now what are contingent liabilities? Contingent liabilities are those liabilities which may or which may not arise. Why? Because they are dependent on any event that may happen in the future. Okay. So these contingent liabilities may or may not arise, and that simply depends upon the happening of an event in the future. For example, if a claim is filed against the company in a consumer court by a customer. Now, the court may hold the company at fault or and may impose a penalty, or it may not do that. So whether the company has a liability or not is dependent on that court order. Therefore, it is a contingent liability. Similarly, proposed dividend for the current year is also shown as contingent liability. Why? Because it is subject to approval by the shareholders, who may reduce the amount of dividend to be paid. So proposed, when the dividend is proposed, that is a contingent liability because the amount may be reduced, right? So whereas contingent liabilities, these are not recorded in the books of accounts. They are only disclosed in the notes to accounts, only for the information of the users. Now, what are these? These may be claims against the company which have not been acknowledged as debts, bills receivable which have been discounted from the bank and not yet due for payment. We don't know whether these bills receivable will be received or not. Bills receivable may be dishonored. So again, that is a contingent liability. Proposed dividend, I've already explained. And any other claim for which the company is contingently liable, right? Now, what are commitments? Now, commitments, they mean the financial commitments. These commitments may arise due to activities which have been agreed by the company to be undertaken by it in future. So, company may give a financial commitment about entering into an activity in future. Now, these commitments again are not shown in balance sheet; they are shown in notes to accounts, and they may be the estimated amounts of contracts which are remaining to be executed on capital account and which have not been provided for, any uncalled liability on shares and other investments which are partly paid, and any other commitment, the nature of which has to be specified. So these are the contingent liabilities and commitments which are not shown in the balance sheet, but they are shown in the notes to accounts for the information of the various users. Okay, so we have talked in this video about the meaning of financial statements a little bit, the format of balance sheet, where the balance sheet has two major headings, equity and liability side, and we have the asset side, right? Equity and liability has four major headings: shareholders funds, share application money pending allotment, non-current liabilities, and current liabilities, where the asset side has two major headings, non-current assets and current assets. These are the major headings. So basically in a balance sheet there are six major headings: one, two, three, four. Four on the liability side and two on the asset side. So we have talked about the equity and liability part in the previous video, and in this today's video we have talked about the asset side of the balance sheet. With this, the format of balance sheet is over. Thank you so much for listening to me so patiently, and if you have any questions, leave a comment or you can mail me on my email ID. I would prefer that you leave a comment so that I know how I can improve myself. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Spread the word. I'll be highly obliged. And also leave a comment as I just said. So this is Inside Accountancy by Shakun signing off. Thank you.